All right, it's time that we have to have a serious talk. It's a talk about Elizabeth Warren. I have been holding off on this conversation because I respect Elizabeth Warren. A lot of my friends in the movement are supporting Elizabeth Warren. I think that people should be able to run in primaries on their own ideas and on their own platform with their own candidacy, because I believe in democracy and I believe in our primary system. It's the same argument I made when I ran in a primary. It's the same argument I made when Bernie Sanders ran in 2016 against Hillary Clinton. More democracy is better for us as a whole. But also, you know, sometimes more democracy can be a tool for bad actors to come in. And those bad actors are usually well-funded, who can circumnavigate the democratic process and essentially divide and conquer so that they win. And I'm talking about Michael Bloomberg. So right now, Michael Bloomberg is set to join the Nevada debate stage, and he's polling very well in second place in many states right now based on the state polling. And of course, he's been able to do so by purchasing his way through ads, through organization on the ground, and of course, online. He got his way onto the debate stage by buying his polling to get on the debate stage. Essentially, you know, a leg up against folks who were building very organic campaigns like Kamala Harris and Cory Booker. People I don't agree with necessarily. Marianne Williamson and Andrew Yang, of course, is now out of the process, not to mention many other candidates who couldn't make it onto the debate stage. Sitting senators. Many are sitting senators and governors. So Michael Bloomberg is on this debate stage. He's buying his way through his candidacy, and he is depending right now on many candidates showing a strong enough showing to get a few delegates in some states, or worse, they're doing well enough that they're pulling away from Bernie Sanders, but not gathering delegates. And that's where I'm talking about Elizabeth Warren. I love that there was a progressive woman in this race. I love her work. I think that she's been, she's been a great advocate for breaking up big banks, for breaking up conglomerates, for breaking up Amazon. I think that this is the kind of energy we need to have in this race when we're facing somebody who's an oligarch. Who, you know, we need more candidates to be talking about the dangers of oligarchs, the dangers of monopolies, the dangers of big business. But right now, we're at a sensitive moment where it just does not seem authentic when, as of 3 hours ago, I'm looking at her Twitter page, she is laying out attacks against Michael Bloomberg's racist policies, yet her being in the race is actually creating a huge opening for Michael Bloomberg. You know, as of right now, we have not had the Nevada caucus yet. She's still doing decently well in Nevada. She may pull a few delegates from Nevada, but she did not do well in New Hampshire at all. She gained no delegates, and of course in Iowa she did not do well either. And this should be concerning because if she's losing momentum, and those who are staying with her, they are most likely, and it's very hard to break this down, but most likely pulling from Bernie Sanders. Listen, right now, Bernie Sanders is the candidate in the race that has raised the money to go through to the finish line. He has the on-the-ground organization to go through to the finish line, and he's only gaining support even from solid Democrats who have been on the other side of Bernie for the last 4 years. We are talking about Hillary supporting, Hillary delegates, Hillary staffers, solid Democratic strategists saying it is more important that we keep this party together than give this party to Mayor Bloomberg, who is basically going to kill the party and effectively the two-party system. Now, the two-party system is broken. I have no doubt about it. I mean, I am a big believer in many powers, parties, more ideas, more democracy, but not if the alternative to the two-party system is an oligarchy. And that's where we are right now. Michael Bloomberg is buying his way into this primary process. Michael Bloomberg is buying his messaging online when Twitter and Facebook have they've put forward these standards, these political standards to stop fake news. So your political ads, they have to go through this whole screening process. They have to be authentic. They have to be verified. There's major oversight right now when it comes to advertising on Facebook and on Twitter to prevent quote unquote fake news. So what did Michael Bloomberg do? He said, I'll circumnavigate that. I'm just going to buy people on Twitter and on Facebook to push back against Bernie Sanders' movement. And also to get the movement so distracted by Michael Bloomberg and his Twitter trolls that they're now fighting with those trolls online. You see what's happening here? I don't know if it's necessarily going to work because it seems like folks are very focused on Michael Bloomberg's legacy in New York, his behavioral patterns, whether it's the 64 sexual harassment allegations against him or his racist ideas and language, recent racist language. That's all coming out on Twitter, and it's very hard to fight against that when much of it is on the record through tapes or through recordings. But what I'm concerned about here is when it's becoming abundantly clear that the race moving forward, going into Super Tuesday, very expensive states with, there are several states on Super Tuesday that are expensive. So you have to have an operation that can exist in both Texas and California and other states. You have to have a diverse enough support in those states to do well and to get delegates. And of course, Bernie Sanders has that. Now, Elizabeth Warren is maintaining a group of progressive supporters. The problem is that Elizabeth Warren is not, either she doesn't believe the writing on the wall and someone's giving her some sort of fantasy, this illusion of her path forward, or she thinks she has something to negotiate with someone else. Because if she's still in this race pulling from Bernie Sanders, it's likely she's not negotiating with Bernie Sanders. Or she's just delusional and an egomaniac. I like Elizabeth Warren. I have been very careful about criticizing her, but we have to be real right now. If we don't want Michael Bloomberg as our president, we need to have the progressives aligned, unified, true unity in solidarity. Elizabeth Warren right now keeps bringing up this term unity. Unity was an idea, it was pushed out in 2016 that we needed to unify as a party against Donald Trump. Well, right now we have two nemeses. We have Donald Trump and we have Michael Bloomberg, who is questionably just as, I think he's just as concerning. He has very similar tendencies as Donald Trump. He might not speak the same language, literally, as Donald Trump, but his actions are very revealing and his behaviors are very similar to Donald Trump's, as at this point in the election that Donald Trump was in 2016. I think there's probably more footage of Michael Bloomberg behaving inappropriately, and there's a record, there's an actual legacy, there's a legislative legacy that follows Michael Bloomberg around that Donald Trump did not have. So given the fact that we are going up against this man who's going to buy his way into the general election of the Democratic Party, because it's going to be a two-person election in the end if we do go to the convention, then we do need unity. But it's not going to be around somebody who doesn't have a mass movement. It's not going to be around somebody who is not supported by a wide-ranged coalition, who doesn't have enough money to go through Super Tuesday and beyond. So we want to talk about unity. That means solidarity. And as much as I respect Elizabeth Warren, if she really wants to protect her legacy as a progressive senator, her reputation as a progressive senator in the Senate, if she wants to be a leader and be in the history books as somebody who is bringing about real change, if she doesn't want to betray the people who got her to this point, the progressive movement that amplified her message, that supported her, that showed up on picket lines with her, that showed up at rallies with her, that despite everything in 2016 continued to support her and urged her to run. If she doesn't want to lose that support, then she's probably going to have a moment with herself right now and say, I am putting my full support behind Bernie Sanders. And what's very likely, I believe, is if she does do that, if she cuts the crap, cuts the attacks against Bernie Sanders, she could very well likely be the vice presidential nominee. So if she's not doing that, then what's her motivation here? To be on a ticket with Michael Bloomberg? How's that going to work out? You think you believe him? You think that he needs you? What's the end game here? Is the end game that you're going to continue to receive the support of the progressive movement by going after them and calling them Bernie bros? By attacking Bernie Sanders? By laying out false sexist claims against the movement and the workers? All those people that they claim are Bernie bros, those are $27 donations from immigrants, from teachers, from union organizers, from hotel workers, from home aides, from students, from people in medical debt. When you look at his supporters, when you look at the collection of donors that have given, sacrificed for the sake of this movement in Bernie Sanders' campaign, you are attacking every single one of those people. And I think that is a very, very, very slippery slope to go down, Elizabeth Warren. So I have been cautious about criticizing her. I have been cautious about challenging her. But I was so insulted by the continuous attacks against the movement of workers, the movement of $27 donations, $18 donations, $10 donations for people who just want better lives. People who know that the path to defeat not just Donald Trump, but Michael Bloomberg is through the Bernie Sanders movement. So when you say things like Bernie Bros, that is minimizing the intellect that you are putting out there. The fact that we have seen you as a smart candidate, as a progressive leader who has the courage to take on monopolies and big banks. Well, if you have the courage to take on these monopolies and the oligarchs, then you would support Bernie Sanders in the movement, lock arms, support him in defeating Michael Bloomberg. Because right now, you are only helping Michael Bloomberg by staying in this race and attacking Bernie Sanders. So for those of you who are watching right now, who have friends that support Elizabeth Warren, as I do, I would sit down with them and I'd say, this is the pathway forward for her. She has 0 delegates as of today, February 18th. She may collect a few more delegates, but she's very likely not going to get to the point where she's going to have delegates to negotiate on the floor of the convention. She doesn't have the movement, the coalition. She doesn't have the organizational support on the ground. She's losing people on her campaign, so much so that senior advisors are leaking things to the press. While the idea of Elizabeth Warren as a president was at one time inspirational, the second she started to pull away from her progressive platform, whether it be Medicare for All or attacking other progressives in the race, people started to lose support with her. The whole point is she was authentic at one point, but if you express that you are not authentic with a movement that looks for authentic candidates, you're going to be stuck. She started to pull from the centrists and lose the progressives. And we really were unable to know who she was. And moving forward, people don't know who she is. Is she somebody for Medicare for All? Is she somebody who believes in workers' rights and economic justice? Well, if she is, then why wouldn't she be choosing to support the movement and negotiate something on that ticket? Because how amazing would that ticket be? I understand that we want a woman president. Trust me, as a woman, I get frustrated by even male progressives, and I have too many stories to tell you. But that is not a progressive problem. That is a universal problem. And I believe that the path towards empowering more women is through intersectional economic justice. And right now, Elizabeth Warren is not running on that platform. So if you are a woman supporting Elizabeth Warren and you're a progressive and you want to see progressives in office, please understand the math here. Understand that Elizabeth Warren does not have a path to victory, and she's only pulling from the platform that helps women. Nobody else in this race. Michael Bloomberg is not going to sit there and advocate for women and for workers and for immigrants. He is not going to protect people. He is going to concentrate all the power towards the top. And so, if you want to live in a better world, I hope you can look at that math and you can see that the polls in every state moving forward, she is polling 3rd, 4th, and 5th. That the fundraising, that her own organizational power on the ground is only losing support. And her being in the race is pulling anywhere between 10 to 15% from Bernie Sanders. And that hands the nomination to Michael Bloomberg.